Yeah.
We have two of our students are joining us from Performing Arts Studio West. So we're going to bring them on now. They might stay throughout the whole thing. We might just end again on you and I, but we have the wonderful Ashley Anderson and also Sean Mercaldo.
Okay.
So
there's Ashley.
Here we come. Sean. Hey, Ashley. Hey, Sean.
Hi, David.
Hey.
Hello.
There we go. We have Mr. Dan Wingate.
Yeah.
Hi there. Good to meet you.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I know that you all brought some questions. Hey there. I see the families in the back. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, David.
Yes.
And you as well, Dan.
Hey, nice to meet you too.
So I know that you brought some questions for Dan about his filmmaking, about his history. Ashley, would you like to start with one of your questions?
Why did you become a filmmaker?
Why did you become a filmmaker?
Well, I'll tell you, I remember the first time that I said to myself, this is what I want to do, was when I saw, believe it or not, the movie What's Up, Doc? And I was, let's see, I would have been 8 years old. That movie came out. And I went to see another film at this theater that I did not enjoy. So I left it. I walked out of it and walked over to this other movie playing in the other theater, which was What's Up, Doc? And the reason I went in was because I thought it was a Bugs Bunny movie. You know, What's Up, Doc? I thought it had Bugs Bunny in it, which it does at the end, but I had never heard an audience laugh at a movie like that. I'd never heard them laugh that hard. I mean, literally the waves of laughter. And you guys know, when you're in a space like that and that kind of joy collectively happens, you go, I want to do this. I want to make people happy like this. I want to hear people laughing like this. You know, so that was it. It was just that little moment, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to make people react this way.
I tell you, that's one of I think the funniest films ever made.
Yeah. And later I found out that whole chase scene was an homage to Buster Keaton, which I didn't know. Buster's my idol. You know, Buster's been my idol my whole life, you know. And I didn't know that until that Bogdanovich documentary last year. And he talked about it and said it was an homage to Buster. And I was like, of course it was.
Oh my gosh.
Makes total sense now, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's
I love that. That's interesting. It's interesting how one film or one moment can go, that's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I saw Peter Pan when I was 4, I wanted to be Peter Pan, and now I am.
You manifested it.
Just kidding. But actually not just kidding on my first film. How about you, Sean? What is one of your questions?
Yeah, my first question is, why do you want to do a movie about Kay Ballard? Did Kay Ballard
That's your first one,
dude.
dude.
Ouch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, she asked me to. I had worked with, she had been on a TV series called The Mothers-in-Law in the 60s. And I produced the DVD set of that. When they put that DVD set out, that was the first DVD set that I produced. And that's when I met her, because I interviewed her for the bonus stuff, you know, interviews. And so we became buddies over the years. I'd check in on her. And then when she decided to do a documentary, there was a couple of false starts. And then she, you know, basically yanked me and said, you're doing it. Whether you want to do it or not, you're going to do it. So yeah, that's how it happened.
I love it. Now, you've also worked on projects about Lucille Ball, Norman Lear, Doris Day, and Paul Williams. Have you worked one-on-one with any of those people like
Well,
Norman or Paul?
Not Lucy, but
not Lucy, of course.
But yeah, well, I mean, I talked to Paul briefly a little bit, but it was mainly through his manager. That was a thing I was doing for a while where we call them play-ons. I call them play-ons. Basically, it's a thing when you do public appearances, and you need something to play on the screen to introduce you, and then you come out after to this wave of applause, right? So it's like, so that's what he needed because he was doing a book tour, and he needed something to bring him on, for these tours. So that's how that happened. And Lucy, the work with the Lucy stuff, I had been a big student of Desilu and the story of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, not the love story so much for me. I was interested in the story of the studio and how it evolved and then went on to be, I mean, they should have a gold statue of Lucy at Paramount. All the money Star Trek's made alone. And that's just one. But anyway, but I was always interested in that. So when I got out here, I was able to hook up with Tom Watson, who worked for Lucy for many years as an assistant, and they were producing DVDs. So I started out with helping them find things, and then I got to work with the archives, with Lucy's archives, and we went through and I worked on the bonus stuff for her last series, her last CBS series, Here's Lucy from the 70s. When that was put out on DVD, I went through a lot of stuff looking for bonus material for that too. So that's how that started. We're still working. We've got a couple more surprises in the Lucy world a lot of people don't know about, that we're excited about working on right now. So I hope that wasn't too long an answer.
Right. How about Norman Lear? Did you work with Norman?
Yes, and that was an amazing experience. First of all, the first time I met him was when I got to Sony. I knew that they had been looking for many years for the original pilot of All in the Family, because the original pilot was done for ABC, and it was done in 1968, 3 years before it was on CBS, and this pilot had disappeared, and there was a second pilot done which was aired on Nick at Night back in the 90s and whatever. So when I got to Sony, I knew that they were still looking for this thing. So that was when I got put in charge of the TV stuff, in a consultation thing for work. That was the first thing I went after, and it took me 2 days, and I found it. So that was the first big thing, that I found actually, and I was so excited about it. And so I contacted, of course they contacted everybody. It was so funny because legal department was like, that doesn't exist, kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm over here with the thing in my hand. Yes, it does exist. So that was when I first met him. And then they were doing a box set of Norman Lear's career at Sony. And so I got to, the thing was go find any bonus stuff that you can find. And I found so much stuff that we didn't use, but there's a lot of incredible things. And I sent this stuff to Norman, and I was like, here's this. And one of the things I found in the vault too that you will remember is what was that show that he did when he started People for the American Way? What was the name of that show?
Oh, I Love Liberty.
I Love Liberty.
One of my favorite TV shows of all time.
So I found it in the vault, and we did it. It had a technical issue about it, and we did the best we could with it. And then I sent it to him, and he wrote me a letter, which I still have. And he just basically said, we've been looking for a good copy of this for years. And the thing I remember him saying is, you're the living definition of a mensch. Hear that from Norman Lear is like, so that was a big one for me. Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing.
But that's how that, and I got to meet him at the launch party for the DVD, and I was so afraid that I had to like drink 2 glasses of wine before I could walk over and even speak to him. I was so nervous.
I love that.
But it was he was really nice to me. It was a big that was a big moment for me, you know.
Yeah, talk about a mensch. There's another one.
Yeah.
Ashley, how about your second question?
Okay.
The places you have filmed at?
Yeah, where are some of the places you have filmed at?
Okay. Well, we did a lot of, you know, in terms of the K film, you know, that was done all over the place. I mean, you know, and you know, for like Hal Prince, he had an office in Rockefeller Center. I remember that because we had to go through the building security and all that stuff to get to shoot there. You know, it was like a big thing. And Woody Allen, we shot in his screening room where he always screens his stuff.
How did you get Woody?
That was a really crazy thing. So I had worked on this video reconstruction, I'll call it a reconstruction, of the Glass Menagerie. There was a television version of it done in 1966 with Shirley Booth and Hal Holbrook, and it was lost. And then a colleague of mine at the Paley Center, Janie Klain, found the actual taping reels from where they were shot on videotape in London. And she found the taping reels. They never found the edited master of the show, but we had an audio recording that was recorded off the air. Someone, a tech person, you know, back in the day, recorded it off the air when it was broadcast. And so I took that audio and used that to match up the shots and put it back together, assembled it. And it was shown on TCM 50 years to the day of its original airing. And Woody missed that airing. He heard about it, but he contacted my colleague at Paley and said, you know, I'd like to get a copy of that. I missed it. Can I do that? And so she's like, yeah. And then when she told me, I was like, you know, I knew that story. Kay had already told me the story about working with him when he was a kid. And I was like, how many times are you going to get an opportunity? You know, you got to ask. All he could do is say no. You got to ask. So I wrote him a letter and he was like, sure, I'd love to talk about Kay, you know? And so that's how that happened. It was like total Hal Prince, very similar thing. Weren't planning on Hal Prince.
Yeah.
And then I found out that Kay worked with Jerry Robbins in the very first thing he ever directed when he was 20 years old. And it was the first TV thing. And George Abbott was supposed to direct it. And he didn't like it, so he gave it to him to do. So I thought there might be a kinescope. I thought maybe there might be some footage, even though it was very early. It was 1949. So they had just started kinescoping, you know, that year on a regular basis. So I contacted him to see if he might have a kinescope of it. And he wrote me back and said, I don't have a kinescope of it, but if you'd like to interview me for the K-Doc, I'd love to set the record straight about some stuff. And so, and I'll tell you, of all the things, and she, of course, appreciated everyone that participated in it, but that interview changed something in her, because that was a hurt that she had walked around with for many, many years, that whole misunderstanding that had happened. And so for him to apologize about that and say that on camera and say the things he did, it really undid a hurt she had been carrying for many years. She couldn't believe that he did that. And she was really moved by it. And I'm so glad that got to happen, you know, because we don't need to leave this realm with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's I'm so glad that got resolved. And now look, they're both gone, you know, but they got it resolved.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway.
With a little help from their friends, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of, I feel like, David, honestly, and this is not false modesty, it's one of those things that I feel like I was a part of something that was much bigger. It was like I was just a player in that part. You know, it's like that's sometimes that's how these things happen, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful that her story got told in a way that people could appreciate how long she stuck it out.
Yeah.
She could have thrown in the towel many, many times, and she did not, because that's what she loved. She didn't care about anything else. That was her life.
Sean, how about you? What about your second question?
Okay. Did Kay Ballard
Louder, a little louder.
Did Kay Ballard get to see your film before she died in 2019?
Yes, yes, she did. We showed it at the. That was another amazing thing, because I had been at the Library of Congress working on another project with some very early films, and I got back from that project in September, and it was right around the time of the Palm Springs Film Festival, where they were accepting final entries, you know, and I thought we had missed our deadline, and I was just like so beside myself, because I had a real sense that, you know, she wasn't going to be around that much longer.
Yeah.
And I thought, gotta figure out a way, we've got to get it seen, you know, so that she can experience it. So I wrote to the people at the Palm Springs Festival, and they're just wonderful people, and we got in. We were able to, we made the deadline, and we were able to get in, and she got to see it.
Oh.
Not only was it sold out, but the other theater was sold out, and they had people in the lobby. It was jammed. It was a great, and people were so happy to see her. So she was, you know, she was, I have to say, that last week of her life, she was flying high. She was really happy.
So that was actually her last week.
It was after that screening, we got Best in Fest. We were one of the Best in Fest,
and so that's one of the top film festivals around.
And they did another screening of it, and then just not even a few days after that. But she called me when we got Best in Fest. I'll never forget this. I wish I had the foresight to let it go to voicemail so I would have it, but I wouldn't have done that anyway. But I just never forget, because I was down there and I answered the phone, and she said, "Did you hear the news, kid? We got Best in Fest. We showed those bastards." And she was so happy, because she had gotten some interference from some people who told, you know, who said, "Get rid of that guy. He doesn't know what he's doing." And so she felt very vindicated that it, you know, when it got seen and got appreciated. And she was like, "See, you know, that was, you know, I was happy for her for that reason too, because that's hard, you know."
Well, and so many levels that she said that, because she did love you.
Yeah. And she loved people. She was such a, you know, she was a showbiz fairy godmother. I swear to God, that's what I'm talking about. There are these people, like, you know, Joy Behar told that story about how it was Joy Behar's first time on anything, and she was scared to death. She was like deer in the headlights. And Kay was right there and said, "They're going to do it again, and I'm going to stand right here, and you're going to watch me, and you're going to do it, and it's going to be great." And that's what happened. But what would happen if you didn't have those people, you know? And you hear all these stories all the time about, you know, how people aren't that nice, but you don't hear enough stories about how people really helped other people, you know? And the other thing I loved that wasn't, it just kind of worked out that way, but it showed this cycle of how, you know, she was one of the people that said to Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira, when they were in Chicago, you know, you ought to make this bickering thing you do when we go out to eat after your show, you ought to make this your act, because this is funny.
Yeah.
And so that really got him started. And she called up the guy at the Hungry Eye and said, you know, book these people. And she called the people, and she told everybody about, that's how she would do. And then when she lost that part in Lovers and Other Strangers, who came to the hotel to sit with her? Ann Mira. So it is that thing about, you know, show business is this family. You develop a family of people who look after each other when the cruelties come calling, which they do for everybody, you know.
Ashley, I know you have one last question.
How is it working with Kate Ballard?
How is it,
Joy?
Yeah, how is it working with Kay Ballard?
Well, Kay was, you know, she didn't edit, you know, herself. She just told you like it was. She was a very straightforward person, and I loved that. I actually enjoy that. I enjoy working with people who just tell me where we stand all the time. I'm good with it. I can handle it, you know. But she was, you know, she loved nothing more than to talk about show business. So I didn't really, you know, there were, you know, we had times, you know, along the way when things happened, but for the most part, it was an incredible experience. You know, it's something I feel very lucky that I got to be a part of that, because you know she's a legend. And I'm glad that she's also getting the recognition in the theater community that she deserves, because she's responsible for a lot of things that happened, because she helped those people before they even came up with that stuff. That she was nurturing a lot of people before they became who they were. And you know, that was, she felt that was a part of how it was, because you think about the people that did that to her, you know, when she started out and she was with Spike Jones, and she met everybody in show business. She met everybody through him, and those people helped her, and so she wanted to do the same thing. So it's like, you know, and she was very sweet with me for the most part, you know, except when she wasn't, which sometimes she needed to be. So you know.
But hey, we're all human. We're all
yeah, it all worked out okay. We were, you know, she was thrilled. She went out happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she went out happy. So that's the cool thing. You know, now.
Sean.
Okay.
You want to do it first?
Yep.
Nice and loud.
What did Kay Ballard think about you doing a movie about her?
Well, she, you know, she told me from the beginning that she wanted me to do it, and I didn't want to do it at first because I was afraid of it. And then when I did decide to do it, and I told her my ideas, she said, "That's the way I want it done. That's the way I want it told." So that's how I knew I was on the right track, you know, when we started. And I kind of gave her an idea, you know, because I wanted, the main thing is I didn't want it to be just this nonstop clip thing without some context and some framing. And so the hardest thing for us was to, you know, to film the nightclub stuff. And she just, you know, she wasn't quite sure why I was doing that. And I was like, well, just trust me. You know, this is, I want to get you in your element. I don't want to just talk about you in front of an audience. I want people to see you and how you react and how you are and what your energy is. And I knew that if we had that, that would be the framing device that we could use to tell the story. And then it wouldn't be a bunch of people talking about somebody and you not getting to see what, you know, the backup, the receipts, you know. So yeah, so she was happy with the way I told it. Ultimately, she was very happy.
So what is your next adventure, Mr. Wingate?
Well, I've always got, I mean, the way I work is I have to have multiple things going, because some things take a little bit of time, some things take a lot of time. So if you just keep working on them all, you know, they eventually things happen. But I'm working on a Lucille Ball project, which is very exciting. People are going to be very excited about that. I don't want to say any more just because I don't know if I'm allowed to. And then I'm also working on a screenplay. I know it's a cliche, but I am. And it's actually what I was studying when Kay, you know, when Kay asked me to do the movie. I had started studying screenwriting, and she knew that, and I think that was also part of why she asked me to do it. But yeah, it's about a very specific time in my life because my father died when I was 14 years old and I had to go to work. And so I went to work as a kid at this motel, and I worked there from 14 to 17. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover it because I came in as a kid and I left as a completely different human being within that 3-year period.
Wow.
So I'm working on that. I don't know how long that'll take, but initially I was going to try to go somewhere and do it, the romanticized I'm going to go get a cabin somewhere. I literally tried to do that.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out. And then I realized, no, that's not how you work. You work on multiple things all the time. So just incorporate it into the way you already work and it'll be fine. You'll get it done eventually. So I'm working on that and some other just, editing projects here and there, just stuff like that. But I am excited. I hope I get the opportunity to make another one. We'll see.
I sure hope so too.
It takes a long time. I mean, it's, the thing of it is one of the other things I'm working on now is I want to start doing a podcast about broadcasting and about TV history and stuff like that, because, documentaries are great, but they take so long to do.
How long did this film take?
5 years. 5 years. And it literally, no social, no, you give up your life, you give it up to make this thing happen, Now that wouldn't be the case, but usually on the first one, that's the case.
Yeah.
You do the first one. So yeah, but you have to, every picture you have to clear, every song you have to clear, every bit of footage you have to clear. And so that, when you do things like that, after you're done, you want to just do something where you can just talk and have a good time and not have to spend so much time in pre-production.
Yeah.
That by the time you're done, you're like, oh, I'm tired of telling the story now. Because it's taken such a long time to get that stuff, and clearances are a big, that's the one thing too that I have to say this, that we had some angels, in this situation that helped get the movie out, because there are over 50 song cues in this movie, and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of cost to clear, and someone helped us tremendously with that, who loved Kay, and that's the reason that it got out, and it's not that common to have something with that much music in it. That's why we didn't use more music, because if we'd used more of the songs, it would have cost even more of a fortune than it already did.
Right.
To clear the music. But we needed to tell that story. You had to have that music because it's, so anyway, I'm looking forward to doing some things that the turnaround time's a little quicker, and incorporates my friends too, like you. Come on, talk about showbiz. So.
Last question, and this is to everyone. What brings you the most joy in life? You want to start off, Sean?
What brings you joy, Sean? What makes you the most happy? My whole family makes me happy because I'm always in charge, helping out with everything, like do dishes, clean the floor. What's so funny?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have him doing just labor over here, but he really does. He gets a kick out of having responsibilities, things like that, I think.
Well, and I'm so connected to what you were saying, Sean, about family, because that's I have to say that's one of my favorite words, because it means so much. Family, the blood family you have, and the extended family.
Yep, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a blessing to have you at Performing Arts Studio West. It's a wonderful extended family there.
Mhm. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. How about you, Ashley? What is your biggest joy in life?
My family.
Your family too. Yeah, I think it's a family kind of time. I'd triple that one. How about you, Dan?
I'd fourple that one.
Fourple.
I'd quadruple that one. Yeah, my nieces and nephews are they're my joy. I love them. I've two, so I have a niece and nephew, and then two great nieces and two great nephews, and yeah. So that's that being with them makes me happy. And then the other thing I would think is music.
Music.
It brings me a lot of joy.
Thank you, Dan.
Hey, you're welcome. I hope you got something you can use.
Oh my God. Like a waterfall. Well, everything. It's wonderful. And thank you, Sean and Ashley, for joining. And
Yes.
Here we are, family.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, and David, I have to say too, I'm very proud of you, what you've done with this little endeavor of yours, because I remember when you started it. I remember when you were starting this.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And you've done some wonderful things with it. So congratulations on that, buddy. I'm happy to be able to say that publicly.
Thank you.
Call you out.
Okay, we'll call each other out.
There you go.
All right.
All righty. Thank you all.
Thank you. See you soon.